All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Polzin with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the core plays for Week 13. Just a reminder, if you guys enjoy this coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe. Trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before the new year. We're right on pace with that, but the only way I can get there is with your guys' help. All right, I'm actually pretty excited about this week. There's a lot of value, okay? So that should be good. Coming off of another strong week last week, James Conner really came through at kind of a lower ownership. Some people just didn't want to pay up for him, and that was kind of really the difference maker last week. So let's hope we can find another James Conner this week. So as always, I do like to start out at the quarterback position. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is going to get a great matchup going against the Tennessee Titans. I do think we can lock in around 25 DK points out of him. If you guys want to pay up for him, you can certainly do so. Justin Herbert came out and had his best game of the year last week, kind of as expected, a little bit so. Threw the ball 47 times. Obviously, if we're going to get 40 passing attempts out of him, that would be great. The matchup with the Raiders is not one you're worried about. He just went for 23 DK points against them in week 1. I shouldn't say just, but he did go for a decent amount of points against them earlier this season. Then we got Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, once again, going to be a safe target for you on the slate going against KC. That's not a matchup you're worried about. That's actually a matchup that you've been targeting this season via the quarterback position. So it wouldn't be shocking to see him go off. And once again, going to be a very safe play for you on this slate. I think we can go lower though. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence in a great spot going against the Detroit Lions. Obviously, that game against Baltimore was a big one. It was nice to see him take advantage of two subpar defensive matchups the last 2 weeks and even 3 weeks going against the Raiders as well. Maybe that was a turning point for Trevor Lawrence because, that was definitely, I think, his best game NFL-wise. And that could be a turning point, kind of just that game-winning drive. Maybe that's a confidence drive for him. Obviously, it's a great matchup. Here's the thing, guys. We have a ton of great quarterback plays. That is the issue that I'm having on the slate. Derek Carr at 5.6. Been a very consistent fantasy producer as well. I think we can get right around 20 DK points, even with this matchup against the Chargers. Sure, week 1, he went for 17 DK points. Had a little bit too many turnovers, 3 INTs in that game. Hopefully gets a little bit less. Obviously would have went for 20 DK points had he done that. But honestly, if Aaron Rodgers is out, it's going to be tough not to play Jordan Love going against the Chicago Bears, who, as we know, since they've made those trades defensively, they have been a poor defense. They have been a defense that you want to attack. Jordan Love has been someone that when he has taken the field, he has looked good and impressive. It's kind of like a lighter version of Christian Watson where you just need to give him the correct opportunities or the full amount of opportunities, and I think he'll shine bright. Okay, not exactly that, okay, but given the matchup, given the price point, Jordan Love probably will be tough to pass up on. If you just look at what Aaron Rodgers has done with a broken thumb, he has been a very consistent fantasy producer as well, consistently getting over 15 DK points. If we get 15 DK points out of Jordan Love at 5.1, that's going to be highly appealing to me. So I do like that. I think he's going to be a strong price point play for you on this slate. That's the issue. We might be able to pay up at quarterback. We probably will. But as it sits right now, I don't see the point of doing so. And now we get into the other side of this. Austin Ekeler going to be in a great spot as well. The targets, 15 targets last week. Okay, that was insane. Okay, he is just getting used a ton in the passing game. Didn't really have the best game against the Raiders week 1, but I'm not too worried about that either. So he's certainly someone you can pay up for. You get Nick Chubb going against the best matchup that you've been wanting to target this whole season, the Houston Texans. So he is certainly a viable pay-up play if you can get up to him. It's a play that I want to get up to as well. Josh Jacobs obviously been on a tear, playing a ton of snaps, getting a ton of opportunities. It's tough not to play him as well. You can certainly afford to pay up for him on this slate. Going a little bit lower, guys. Aaron Jones in a good spot. David Montgomery in a decent spot. Dameon Pierce, if those snaps are going to be there for him, could be a good play. Let's go lower, though, because there is a ton of value. Kyron Williams came out and, looked pretty good. Kind of looked as expected. Not an elite running back, but he does a lot of things right. He can get to the hole, has good vision, just doesn't have that burst to be like an elite running back, but a solid running back. Kind of reminds me of I don't want to say Lamar Miller, but kind of Lamar Miller when he was with the Texans, if that makes sense. Like not great, but good enough, serviceable, played in over 70% of the snaps, and that's a number that could potentially go up. Obviously, the matchup with the Seattle Seahawks is one that you like. 5.2, a very cheap price point for him. Then we got to look at Jermichael Hasty. So if Travis Etienne is going to be out, it's most likely going to be Jermichael Hasty. coming into a lot of snaps. With Etienne getting injured last week, Hasty saw 78% of the snaps. And I know they just brought in Darrell Henderson, but when that move was made for them to acquire Henderson, I'm like, no, Hasty's better. They just want another running back, a veteran running back. And it's this stuff in the passing game that makes Hasty good. Now, 2 weeks ago, he dropped what could have been a big play, but if he's going to get used in the pass game, like I think he will, going to get 17 opportunities in a great matchup, playing about 80% of the snaps, that would be very tough to pass up on. Now, obviously, that's something as the week progresses, we'll get more information on, but as it sits right now, he is someone we're certainly looking at. But we also have Jalen Warren potentially as well. If Najee Harris is ruled out, Jalen Warren would most likely fall into a huge workload. Okay, we saw Najee Harris get 90% of the snaps with Jalen Warren out 2 weeks ago. Obviously, Najee Harris got injured on Monday Night Football. If he sits, Jalen Warren could easily see himself with about 80% of the carries, obviously, or snaps. Obviously, Jalen Warren has looked elite as well. This is the issue that we're facing. It's that we do have some elite value at the running back position to the point where I don't know if we will be able to pay up for Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs, just given the value at the running back position. And I'm not even finished yet, guys. Another running back we could be looking at is James Robinson. James Robinson was inactive last week, leading to Knight getting a bunch of snaps, okay? With Michael Carter potentially sitting out this game, James Robinson, I think, would be active, and I think he'd be the RB1. Obviously, the matchup with the Minnesota Vikings is also a pretty good matchup. So lots of if-then statements going on right now, like if Michael Carter's out and James Robinson's active, going to be a great play. If Najee Harris is out, then Jalen Warren's going to be a great play. There's just a lot of weird stuff there. So, we know who to be on. It's just which one do we value the highest? Right now, I'm valuing Jermichael Hasty the most as it sits right now. That could easily change as the week goes on. So Tyreek Hill is going to be someone I think you can play. Just been a very consistent fantasy producer. Once again, you can afford to pay up for a player like him if you choose to do so. AJ Brown in a fine spot. If Jamar Chase sits, or even if he plays, I think that T. Higgins is going to be a quality play once again. Then a very, very consistent fantasy producer. This game with KC is most likely going to be a game that's going to be a shootout, and I would argue 7.2 is still a little bit too cheap for him. Another price point that's a little bit too cheap is going to be Keenan Allen. Guys, Keenan Allen played in a lot of snaps, 89% of the snaps, saw only 7 targets, but was able to score a touchdown and score 15.9 DK points. That is 2 straight games of over a double-digit DK points. So in the 2 games that he's finished full, he scored double digits. In 3 out of the 4 weeks thus far this season, he's finished double-digit DK points. Okay. If you were to project him to get 89% of the snaps once again, probably would be around 15 DK points. He's going to be someone, just given the matchup, is going to be tough to avoid. Then we got a lot of decent plays like DK Metcalf. I'm fine with. Christian Kirk, I think, is going to have a bounce back game. Tyler Lockett, you could play. Brandon Ayuk, you could play. I'm fine with those. Cortland Sutton, though, this is a very cheap price point for a guy that's just on the field, basically 100% of the snaps, getting around 8 targets per game with a very consistent floor. Okay, the last 3 weeks, all over 12 DK points. Just a very strong price point and also a very strong matchup. He's going to be tough to avoid. But we also have Deontay Johnson in a great spot. He is also playing 90% of the snaps. Saw 8 targets. This is going to be by far, I shouldn't say by far, but this is going to be one of the best matchups that Kenny Pickett has had all season. And maybe last week was more of a get right week for Kenny Pickett and that whole offense. For Deontay Johnson to get 9.9 DK points against the Colts, that was pretty impressive. And then how do we avoid Christian Watson as well? Obviously, if I love Jordan Love, I should love Christian Watson, especially going against this Bears defense, like I said, has been poor recently. Christian Watson going to get around 85 to about 90% of the snaps. He's been getting 6 targets the last 2 weeks and then 8 targets against Dallas. It's no shock that he has been a stud. Okay. I think anyone that's been following this channel, they know. I think it was even week 1, I came out and made it a video. I'm like, don't be surprised if Christian Watson is Jamar Chase. Okay. A lot of people were over analyzing Jamar Chase's drop issues at the start of training camp and whatnot. Christian Watson basically in his first NFL snap with very limited practice time made a drop against the Vikings, and then obviously has been a stud really the last 3 games. I don't think there's a player, guys, and honestly I would want to see a stat on this. Is there a better start to a career than Christian Watson's when you look at playing a full allotment of snaps? And to me, that's over 80% of the snaps or even 75% of the snaps. Obviously, he was hindered by injuries throughout the whole start of the season. Since he's been healthy, I don't think there's been a player in the NFL that's had a better start than this. playoffs, especially like fantasy wise. So my long way of saying I still love Christian Watson this week, guys. But like, do you have to play him? Maybe not. Zay Jones, a player that I thought was a very sneaky play because the upside to get 10 targets in that matchup, the upside to go off in that matchup last week was there. He was also someone that really benefited me last week as a very low owned play as well, especially kind of given his price point. It was a little bit strange. So 2 straight weeks of over 10 targets. That's no shock, okay? He is someone that could easily do that again against Detroit. And then we have some value receiver plays I'm going to save for the values video because, guys, there is so much value on this slate. And what I mean by value for that specific video is going to be around that 4K price point range. Just so much value, so many good plays on this slate. And then looking at tight end, like I think it'll be pretty easy to afford to pay up for Travis Kelce if you choose to go that route. I think George Kittle is going to be in a great matchup as well. We saw him take advantage of his last great matchup. Okay. And he's been able to do that kind of this whole year. His big weeks have been against easier matchups. So at 5K, that seems like a very cheap price point for someone that could easily break the slate. If you're not paying up for him, then you're going Foster Moreau, just playing a ton of snaps, 90 to 100% of the snaps. And then Tyler Conklin, a cheap price point, been playing about 80% of the snaps. Not a lock and load like he was earlier in the season, but someone you could certainly look at. Defensively, you guys know my approach on defense. I am always targeting the lowest price defense. That's not going to go negative. Tennessee, maybe, but they've been better recently, so you could easily just play them. You look at the Texans last week, guys. The Texans last week scored 7 DK points while giving up 30 points, okay? Like, you just don't pay up at defense. It's dumb. So, man, I really wish we could fit Deontay Johnson into this build. I think I would love it. That's rough. So we'll go Zay Jones for now. A very solid first look build for you guys this week. I'm excited for this one. There's a lot great plays. There's a lot of like lineup thought going into it as well. The weeks where there's like a direct lineup path is annoying. So I'm excited for this one just because there's enough value, some strong price point plays, and it's just going to be trying to make your best lineup possible. All right, thanks for watching, guys. That's all I have for you for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Give a like and subscribe. That helps me be able to put out more content for you guys. If you guys want to become a 9 to 5 member, get access to 9 to 5's golf package, which is that's what the membership's designed around, as available for $10 a month. Included in that, though, is the NFL and NBA DFS DraftKings lineup optimizers, as well as the cheat sheets for those sports. All right, thanks for watching, and as always, guys, let's keep cashing.